It's your girl, Janae Nicole, coming to you from beautiful, sunny South Florida. I hope you're having a great day. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about the feast and famine of entrepreneurship. And let's get into it. So, I was listening to a podcast a few weeks ago by Dale Partridge. It's called Startup Camp. That's the name of his podcast. And he was doing an interview with Amy Porterfield. So if you're at all in the online make money space or entrepreneurship space, you probably have heard of Amy Porterfield. Yeah, I was listening to the podcast, and at one point she was talking about the feast and famine of entrepreneurship. And I thought, like, oh, so sorry that you can hear my crickety crackety chair. Anyway, she was talking about the feast and famine of entrepreneurship, and it took me back to my first attempt at becoming a true entrepreneur. Like, I was serious. Like, okay, I'm going to go full throttle at this, starting my own business, burn the boat sort of thing, and just do it, right? So I know I touched on this once before on one of my other shows where I was talking about, I left my job or where I was working at. I basically, ventured out on my own. It was an epic fail, as I stated before, because I didn't have a plan. It didn't have any systems in place. Like, I don't even think I had business cards at the time, which is, it's kind of ridiculous if you think about it, but that goes with just being young and idealistic and just thinking that it'll all work itself out in the end, and that's not how life works. I soon found out that if you're going to do pretty much anything in life, you need to first of all have a plan, and which of course we've covered in Planning to Fail episode. But it just, what she said, it really touched the core of me, because it brought back all of those thoughts and feelings of what I went through. There were some really lean days, and just my pride, not wanting to fail and not wanting to ask for help. But I want to make sure that you guys do not do the same thing I did, and to just be mindful of the feast and famine of entrepreneurship. And that's one of the really cool things about being a side hustler, because you don't really have to have that worry of how's rent going to get paid next month. You have a stable paycheck that's coming in, that's handling your day-to-day operations of your regular life, not including business stuff, but just home base is okay, so that if everything with this business fails, I'm not going to be evicted from my home or foreclosed on or anything crazy like that, or they're not going to be picking up my car because I can't make the payments or anything foolish like that. I think that's what really intrigued me and what I really liked about the idea of being a side hustler and having my cake and eating it too. Yes, it's extremely hard to stay focused and work on my passion project. What I think keeps me going, honestly, is that knowing what I'm doing is going to make a difference in somebody's life, and that if I just keep at it, it's going to make a difference in my life. It already has made a difference in my life. Like, I already see some of the results of things that I do on the side, just with the podcast, not even with the business piece, just with the podcast, just having the knowledge of how to do a podcast. One of my coworkers actually found out that I did a podcast, and he was like, wow, that's really interesting. And a week or two later, he kind of approached me real timidly, like, oh, that podcast thing, like, how do you get started? And I was just like, oh, it's super easy. Let me know. I'll give you some information. And I take that for granted that it wasn't super easy for me to get started. It took a long time for me to research everything and figure everything out on my own. But now that I I've done, 27 shows, and I have systems in place now. It's super simple for me to just sit down and record a show and edit it and get it up on iTunes. So that's one thing that I take for granted. But I don't went down a rabbit trail. So I want to stay focused that the feast and famine of entrepreneurship, that shook me to my core, that my first attempt, because I felt like a failure, and I felt like I should have been smarter, and I should have done the basic necessities of like business 101. Like I had no business jumping out there like that without a plan, without any cushion or anything. But I just felt like, I had faith that if I did the work and I put forward the effort, that I would be okay. But that's just not reality. That's just not reality. Of course, I'm a Christian and I have great faith, but God is not a genie. And just because you have faith that things are going to work out in your favor, you also have to be honest with yourself and be realistic that God is not going to support foolishness. And that's what that was. Like, that's just like me walking into the bank and expecting them to just hand me six figures, and I don't have any money in my bank account. Like, that's just not reality. You have to be realistic that yes, there's faith, but there's also personal responsibility. There's also having a plan, that sort of thing. The main thing about having a side hustle, I feel like this time around, I don't have that worry. I don't have that angst that, oh, how am I going to get rent paid? I can still have my regular life. I can still go to work. Yes, it takes a big chunk of my time and focus away from my side hustle, and it takes a lot away from my business, but I can sleep easy at night knowing that my check is stable and rent will be paid on time, and I don't have to worry about that sort of thing. Yeah, there's that. One thing that first attempt showed me was the false sense of security that you can get from being an entrepreneur. Like, 1 month making an insane amount of money the first month because it's brand new and people want to support you and things like that. But then the next month it's crickets, and not being prepared for, making 10x what I made on my regular job, 10 times the amount I made on my regular job, making that in 1 month, and then the next month zero, where you done got starry eyed and like, oh wow, my business is taking off already, and you expect the same type of result, maybe not as much, but maybe just a little bit less. You're expecting at least $1,000, and $0. What do you do when you have zero income and you have no prospect of how the next day is even gonna go? That's the feast and famine of entrepreneurship. You could be making $6,000 this month and next month no dollars. So how do you manage your finances? How do you manage your life around that kind of ups and downs? The market can change on you overnight, and just being prepared for that and being able to pivot is key. Don't fall into the trap of, oh wow, I'm making, six figures with my business and thinking that that's going to continue, because it may not. So just making smart choices and doing the right things and making the right decisions to make sure that, okay, act like you still working a regular job and you was making $600 and not, 60 or, 6,000 or 60,000. I don't know why I got this six on my mind. But either way, not begrudging the small beginnings of the startup phase, because you are a side hustler and you seeing other entrepreneurs that have burned their boats and they've just rent out there, and you see them killing it and you feel like you're getting left behind. Don't. Everything is not for everybody. I say it all the time. That person's journey is that person's journey. Now, some people, you might be one of those people that can burn the boats and jump into the water and go in the deep end and just swim. But be honest with yourself and know who you are and how you function. If you're not going to be comfortable like that, I would suggest you not do it. I would suggest you stay a side hustler, do your thing, build your business step by step, brick by brick, and you'll get there. And to not take your focus off of what you're doing and looking at what other people are doing, because like I said, their journey is their journey and yours is yours. So don't begrudge your small, humble beginnings. You know, we always get the little fable of the tortoise and the hare, and you know the hare that ran all the way to the finish line and sat down and had a snack, and then the tortoise come up because they slacking because they didn't took for granted that lead, and then realize I done passed you up because I took the slow, steady, smart way. Not necessarily the smartest way, but taking my time and doing it my way versus watching what you're doing. You be done went all the way to the end of the line and burnt out, whereas I'm still going because I've taken my time. I've built my business brick by brick on integrity, and I've done the things to build a brand and a business that's going to sustain me and my legacy, because that's what we're building here. We're building a legacy business, not just some flash in the pan that's going to be burnt out overnight. So anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox. Yeah, I already said it. Having a side hustle will help you transition into entrepreneurship realm a little bit easier. So don't begrudge your humble beginnings. It's a good thing, even when seeing other people it may feel like it's not. Well, I guess that about sums it up. At the end of the day, it's your girl Janae Nicole. Know that you are loved and you can reach out to me. You can reach me at info@janaenicole.com. You can hit me on our Facebook group, the Job Optional Podcast, or Twitter at jjanani and at jobopt. All right, it's your girl signing off. I holla.